Hello everyone, Mr. Garino here. Going to continue with our shooter game. In the last video, we added a start button to the game. So now we have to click on the start button to make the game play, but when the game's over we don't have a replay button, so I want to add that now. And I've done that already, playing around with some things and seeing what pitfalls there were. One of the easiest things or ways to add a replay button is to just add another frame to the timeline right here. But then the replay button appears on this screen. And if you remember, in our game, we have a screen for when we win and a screen for when we lose. So I really have to put the replay button on those screens, and that makes it a little bit more complicated. But it wasn't too difficult to figure out, and let me show you now how it works. So here's our start button. We click on it. First I'll lose because that's easy. And I changed it so that only 5 monsters come out so that you don't have to sit here too long. So I lost my energy already. There's my replay button. I mean, you can position it wherever you want. The mouse shows up so that you can see your mouse hovering over it. And when I click, rather than just replaying the game, I have it going back to the start screen. So then you click on the start button and the game plays again. And this time I'll try and win. Like I said, I think I've changed it to only 5. And then I win. Here's my replay button. I click on that and back to the start screen, and you're ready to go again. Okay, so now the way I did that, and this is my finished game, so I'm going to go back to the the game the way we had it in the last part where we had just added the start button. So when I go to my let's do the win. Well, let's do the lose first because it's easier to lose than it is to win. So let's go to the lose movie clip, and what we're going to want here is 2 additional layers. So let me add those 2. I guess this one, if I want, I could call it BG for background. This one I'm going to call button. And this one I'm going to call actions. It's just a name, so however you want to spell it, abbreviate it, whatever. Okay, so now I'm going to put the button on the screen. And rather than waste time going through the whole window, common libraries buttons, I already have it on the finished game, so I'm just going to copy and paste it. And the reason why I'm doing that is just to save time because you guys already know, I already showed you how to put a button on and how to edit it and stuff like that, so let's not go through that again. So here's my button. I'm going to say edit, copy, and then I'm going to go to this other game that we're working on now, and I'm going to say edit. Oops, before I do it, let's make sure I'm on the button layer, and I'm going to say edit. If you want to say paste in place, it puts it in the same spot. No big deal, you can always move it around. Okay, so now here's my replay button. And because this is the replay button on the losing screen, I'm going to name it something that goes along with lose. And then when I put the same sort of button, I always could do a different button, but I chose the same one. On the win screen, I'll name it something different. When I say name it, you have to click on it and go to properties. And over here, I'm going to put replay button lose. So that's the name of the instance of this button on the stage. So hit enter. Then we have to go and do our code. So go to the actions layer, first frame in the actions layer. Remember, I can't press F9 because it pauses my screen recording software, so I have to go the long way. And so this is pretty simple code or short amount of code. So we're going to say replay button lose, so that's the instance of that button, and we're going to add an event listener. And what type of event is it? It's going to be a mouse event. And what are we listening for? We're listening for, and this is all caps, click. Oops, no space after them. Wondering why it's not in blue, because there's no space after the dot. And then we're going to run a function, and I'm going to call it click. Now click is a key word, but when I add to this, it's no longer the word click, so it changes from blue to black. Click replay lose, and of course I'm using my camel case. Click replay lose, close parentheses with a semicolon, and then here's my function. function, click, replay, lose. It receives an event, and the type of event is a mouse event. Close the parentheses, open and close my curly braces, and what are we going to do here? Well, first we're going to set up a variable. And in the previous videos I believe I used main 1 and main 2, so I'm going to use main 3. Just because we're going from this movie clip to the main part of our game. So the main stage, or the main scene 1, I guess. Movie clip, so it's a variable called main 3. It's a movie clip variable. It's equal to movie clip. And last time we were trying to access the timeline of scene 1. This time we just want to access the stage. So this time we only have to say this dot parent. That gets us to the stage. So this is the lose screen, and we're going to the parent of that, which is scene 1. So this dot parent, semicolon, and then what are we going to do with main 3? Well, main 3, we're going to run a function on the main stage called replay game. So the replay game function, which we haven't defined yet on the main part of our game, but we will. Okay, so that should work, unless I made a typo and don't see it. And we can go back to scene 1, and let's do in fact, now be careful when you do this, as I'm going to be careful. I'm going to go to those actions again. I shouldn't have closed this out. I'm going to do the same thing on my windscreen, so I might as well copy all this. I don't know why I didn't want to do edit copy, but I right-clicked copy. Okay, then I'm going to go to my windscreen, and I'm going to make 2 new layers. Same thing, BG, button, not Bhutan, and actions. Okay, and then on the actions layer, I didn't put the button there yet, but I will. Actions, we're going to paste that code, and the only thing I'm going to do is change wherever it says lose, I'm going to change it to win, because this is on the windscreen. So that's why I chose this variable. So it's just a variable, you can call it anything you want, but if you have them make sense, it kind of helps you to remember why you did what you did. So click replay win is the name of the function. The name of the button is replay button win. Name of the function, click replay win. Function, click replay win. And over here, instead of main 3, we'll call it main 4. And over here, it's got to be main 4. But we're doing the same thing. We're still going to run the replay function in the main part of the game. So now let's close this out. And let's go back to the lose screen and get the same button. And go back to the win screen and paste it in place. Maybe I don't like it there. Maybe I won't, because that's going to run into the word that comes up that says you win. You know, everybody does see it right here, but that blue box right there. So I'm going to move it over the Coca-Cola sign, just because that's where I want it. Okay, so oops, did a bad thing there. I pasted it onto the actions layer. So if you do that, you could delete it, go back and do it again, or you can just cut it and then click on the button layer and say edit, paste in place, and all it does is put it in the same spot on the screen but on a different layer. And now let's see, since I copy and paste it, what the properties are of this. So now it says replay button lose, but this is not replay button lose, this is replay button win. So hit enter, because our code on the win screen says replay button win. So if we don't change the name of the instance over there in the properties panel, it's not going to work right. Okay, so now we have our 2 buttons set up, one on each screen. So now let's go back to our main part of our game, scene 1, and we have to add some code here. And the code we're going to add is, for one thing, on the show win function, we're going to put in the message that says you won, or whatever it is we put up here is going to appear down here, because we're saying show win, and this is what gets passed into that function. But now after, well, let me not do that just yet. Let's do the function, and maybe it'll make more sense once I do this. So here's the function replay game. Oops. And open, close curly braces. And what we want to do when we replay the game is we want to go to and stop, and we're going to do that at the intro label. If you remember, we labeled one part of our game intro and one part of our game play. So this is going to go basically to the first frame over here instead of the second frame where the game gets played. So this is the intro screen with the start button. So intro, semicolon. So function replay just goes to the intro screen. Now there's a few things I still have to do, but I want to show you what happens just like this. So let me do file, save as, and of course you guys use the name that's on the website. I'm just going to put a C on the end here instead of the B, and let's play it. Okay, so here's our start button. I'll lose because that's the easiest thing to do. And here's my replay button, but I can't see my mouse. Where is it? I mean, I can kind of see when I'm hovering over it because the button changes, but I really can't do any. I'm clicking on it, nothing's happening. So something you have to do is you got to get your mouse back, because we removed it because we have that special cursor. Mine's that circular orange thing, and you guys have whatever you have. So let's go and get our mouse back. So let's go to Window, Actions, and we can't do it in the replay game because that's the function that runs when you click it. So we have to do it when that screen shows up, the show win screen, the show lose screen. So let's go over here and say mouse dot show. And then if you want, you could retype it, or if you're lazy, you can copy and paste it. Just always have to be careful when you copy and paste, because sometimes you might want to change one thing. Don't forget to change it. But this, just standard thing, show the mouse. So let's close this out, resave it. Always good to resave before you play it, because if I screwed up something bad with the code and I go to replay and crashes my game, then maybe my file gets corrupted. So save it first and play it. Start, lose again. And when I click replay, you'll see nothing still happens, which is kind of weird. So let me go back and figure that out. Okay, so I had to go back and figure out what it was I did to make this work. And I realized what it is that when we're replaying the game, the lose screen or the win screen is still there. We have to remove them so that we can see the intro screen. So we have to say remove. And this actually isn't going to work, and that's why I was a little confused, because there's more than one step to this. But let's just start out with the most logical reason. We have to remove the screen. So we're going to say remove child lose. And we also have to remove child win. And I know I'm already telling you that there's going to be a problem here. But rather than just tell you what it is, well, I'd rather show you what it is. So of course that causes me some problems, because I'm not really doing it right. And got to kind of try and remember what it is I'm doing wrong so that I can then show you how to do it right. Anyway, let's save this. So we're showing the mouse when we pop up the lose screen, and that gives us the button. So we click the button. This is supposed to happen. Remove the lose and the win screen. go to the intro so we can click on the start button to play it again. Now when I run the game, I get an error. And the error is access undefined property lose, access of undefined property win. And if I double click, you say remove child win, it doesn't know what that is. Remove child lose, it doesn't know what that is. And the reason for that is I did something that's probably not the best thing to do when I first set up my game. I declared a variable inside of a function. So if this function doesn't run, when it gets down here, it doesn't know what win is. It doesn't know what lose is unless one of these two functions runs. So when it sees this function when you first start your game, it's like, uh-oh, I'm not going to know what lose or win is. So there's a problem there. But there's a very easy fix. Let's just take this declaration of a variable out of this function and go all the way back up top. And look, this is where we declared all our other variables. And that's a good thing to do. Declare them all right up top. So that's been declared up there. I'm going to take out the lose one. So I'm hitting Control X to cut. Coming up here, Control V to paste. So now that would make sense. When it looks at this function, it's like, all right, now I know what lose and win are. It's still not done, but let's see what happens. Okay, so now let's play it. Okay, no error. Let's lose the game. And when I click replay, I get an error. It's not one of those errors that pops right up, but it pops up later. And the problem here is, yeah, I lost the game so it can remove lose, but how's it going to remove win when win was never there? So that's a problem. And all this stuff right here is pretty cryptic. It's saying you got some problem with your remove child. And because I played around with this, I know what it is. You can't remove something that's not there. So we have to have some sort of conditional statement that tells the game only remove the lose screen if you lost, and only remove the win screen if you won. So how do we know if we won or lost? Well, if we come back up here, we already have that. Increase score. While we're increasing the score, we say, hey, if the score is greater than or equal to monsters in game, then stop it. Stop making the monsters and show you win. All right, we don't want to do that again, but we do need this. So we're going to have this if statement. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to come down here, and that's when we win. So I'm going to put if score is greater than or equal to monsters in game, then open curly brace, close curly brace. So if that's true, then we're going to remove child win. We also have to do the lose. So here's, if we go up just a little bit, we're testing if the energy is less than or equal to 1. That's how we know if we lost. So let me copy that. Come down here to where it says lose. So the next line, paste that in. Open curly brace. So all we're doing is wrapping the remove child statement inside of a conditional statement. And let me just do my auto format to move that over. Okay, so what we're saying is if energy is less than or equal to 1, remove child lose. So remove the lose screen. And that's the only one that's going to be popped up because we lost the game. If that's not the case, then we're going to say, okay, well then, hey, if the score is greater than or equal to the monsters in game, which means we won, then remove child win. So that's going to remove the win screen. When it's all done, it's going to go to and stop on the intro. So now that should work. So let's save this one more time. And let's play the game and see what happens. So we start it. I'm going to lose first. My lose screen pops up. I click replay. And if you notice, we still have one thing, and I knew this was going to happen. It's not the worst thing in the world. We still have the cursor thing there, but we can still click and then it plays, but look, it leaves something behind. But let me try and win anyways. I thought I cut this down to 5, I guess not. Oh, in my game, when I was testing it out, I did, but on this one I didn't. So here's my replay screen for when I win. I click, goes back to the start screen, but you'll see my orange reticle is still there, and now I got two hanging out for no reason. So the easy way to fix that is when we go into the replay game function, before we test any ifs or go to the intro, all we have to do is say remove child. Now this we're always going to remove because that's always there. And if you remember, we called the reticle a cursor. So remove child cursor, semicolon. So now our game should be fully functional. Always save it before you play it. So here's our mouse on the start. It disappears, we have our cursor. I'll try and win first, just in case I lose. I can always go back and try and win again. What's that, 3, 4? Sorry, I should have changed this one to be less. 5, 6, 7, 8. Of course, we had that one glitch, but I can still miss and still win. So now we have the win screen. We click replay, starts again. Well, it goes to the intro screen. I click start. You notice my cursor wasn't there. Let's lose. 1, 2, 3. Here's my replay button. When I click, notice my cursor is not there, just my mouse. I hover over, I click start, and then my mouse disappears and I have the cursor. So there's your finished game. But of course, we're going to have another video, and that's going to be some little points and hints of how you can make this game maybe even a little better. Which, of course, one of the main things you always add at the end of a game is sound. So music in the background, different types of sounds, I guess, when you're clicking, when you're winning, when you're losing. So that'll be the next video. But for now, we have our replay button fully functional on both our win and lose screen. So please accomplish that, and it'll be great. Thanks.